Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So, I have a couple of ball peen hammers here that are in need of help. This one, it's an old plum, has a cracked handle, as you can see right here. So this whole handle is going to need to be replaced. This one, it's an old Baccaro Buffalo. This one is just loose, and the handle's in good shape, so we're going to reuse this handle. So first thing we're going to do, like this one, I can just almost take this off by hand, but I'm just going to grab another hammer, and I'm just going to lightly tap this off, as it's almost on there. And I've got a wedge that's stuck in there that I'm going to pull out, and I'm going to take and I'm going to run a saw down the middle of that, so I can put a new wedge in. So we'll just put that off to the side. This hammer, on the other hand, we're going to have to cut this handle out. It's unfortunate it's not any good, but, you know, so be it with old tools. So I'm just going to put this here, like that, into my vise so I have room to cut it. And I'm just going to grab, doesn't really matter what kind of saw, just going to grab my little coping saw here. I'm just going to try to cut this right off. Just like that. Then, turn this over. Put this in here like that. And then I'm just going to drill a couple of holes, maybe even just drill one hole in here to make it so it's easier to get that piece out. Doesn't have to be a real big one. I don't have a lot of room in there because of the wedges, so I'm just going to drill about right back in there. You know, wherever I would have wherever I'd not have a wedge is where I'd drill. This looks pretty darn rotten. So I just drilled a couple of relief grooves and then just take a punch with a hammer and punch it out. So we're just going to remove all this excess material. And the entire head will go with it. So here is the head off, and I've got this replacement handle. Again, I'm going to have to cut a notch along here for my wedge to get put in. But it looks like that's going to be a pretty slick, operation, because I'm not going to have too much material to take off to shape it. So I'll put this in here, and I think what I'll do, let me get this silly thing in here. There we go. I think what I'll do is cut that notch first. I'm just going to cut it. I'm not going to cut it super long. This hickory is hard stuff. I'm going to cut it because ideally I want this hammer head to fit on here fairly low. So actually I'll probably cut it probably about right there. Then I can slide my head on the handle. So put that off to the side. Now this one, all I need to do well, I need to get that wedge out. But all I'm going to do first is I'm just going to take and I'm going to scrape this with a razor blade. Because when I scrape it with a razor blade, it'll take this old finish off and put and expose fresh wood that I can then just sand and clean up. Really easy, really quick. So I'll grab a razor blade and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Just take a razor blade and just start close to the top here and you just scrape. And all I'm doing is just taking off enough to remove the old nasty wood layer. I mean, just a really light scrape. And this will make it a lot easier for me to sand it and clean it up so I can stain this, because I'm going to stain this handle. Nothing too dark. But I'm just going to go through, I'm going to do everything just like this. Just light. Try to go all the way down. I shouldn't be gouging the wood. If I'm gouging the wood, then I'm not holding the razor right. And all I'm doing is just holding this razor blade about like this and just pulling straight down. Not using hardly any force. So, I'm going to take these hammerheads and instead of trying to sand all this rust off, of these, I'm going to soak them in pure vinegar. Just store brand vinegar. Contrary to what some people think, this will not ruin the stamps in there. It won't ruin embossing or anything like that. It's not powerful enough. I mean, maybe if you left it in for years, but all I'm doing is just using white vinegar that, well, it was white, now it's rust colored. But I'm just going to put these in here. I'm going to pour enough in to cover these, and I'm going to let them sit in here a couple hours and check them. The finish that the vinegar leaves is pretty nice. You can polish it up if you want to. I like to leave it dull. And one thing I'm going to do too is make sure and cover this, because the vinegar will, the vapor will flash rust other metal stuff. But I have a hammerhead, right here. This hammer right here was one that was finished in vinegar. So it came out really nice. And you can see where they heat treated it, which is pretty cool. So I really like it. So I'm going to let those sit in there. I have the handle of the Baccaro, or however you say it. It's all done. It's all sanded. So what I'm going to do is, I think I'm just going to oil it. Or not oil it, wax it. I think I'm just going to use some paste wax. I was going to stain it, but I think the paste wax will do a good job. So I'm just going to put it on and see how it looks. It'll keep the kind of natural color of the wood. Just treat it a little bit. I'm just using regular old paste wax. And then just on a rag, just put it in here. It does work better when it's warmer out. It's not real warm in here, but it's okay. It'll work fine. And I'm going to just rub it in. There's some kind of lettering down there. Right there. Huh. I don't know what it is. But it's actually shining up the wood pretty nice. To where, yes, it wouldn't probably have been as nice to stain it. I think this will leave a better finish. So I'm just going to put it on really heavy. Rub it in really hard. It's okay to leave. I like leaving some nicks and marks on it. It gives it some aged look without compromising the, I don't know, integrity of the wood. It still protects it, but it has a nice look to it. So just back and forth, wax it up. A little bit more wax on it. And I'll also wax the head once it comes out and I dry it off, so that way it doesn't flash rust. I'm just going to put that on there. Okay, so now that I think it's pretty good, I'm just going to take a cleaner part of the rag, just polish it up a little bit. And that leaves a pretty lustery finish on there, and a pretty nice, has a pretty nice grain pattern to it. I don't know how old this hammer is. I don't know what that is on there. Some old, I don't know, maybe somebody's name or something. But it's got a good feel to it. It's smooth, but yet it's still got some grip. It's not going to like slide out of your hand if you go to use it. So that handle's done. I'm just going to put it off to the side. So this handle here is my replacement for that plum hammer. And I don't like this blonde look. It looks like some kind of hardwood. It's probably hickory. And wherever I put my silly razor blade, that was good to lose. So I'm just going to go through. I'm going to, what I can do too is sand this a little bit just to kind of see what it is. And it looks like it's, yeah, it's hickory. So I'm going to scrape this finish off of it down to where I can stain this darker and see what it'll look like with a stain over it. All right, so both of these handles have paste wax on them, so they're sealed. This handle that I replaced, or is the replacement for another one, I scraped off the ugly clear coating, stained it with a dark stain, and so give it a little more character. Then I put 2 coats of paste wax on it. This one that's off the hammer, that's the original one, just has 2 coats of paste wax because it has a dark finish. So these handles are done. So I'm just going to set them off to the side. Now, what I've got in here is my hammerheads. And what I'm going to need to do is soak them in water with a little bit of baking soda to neutralize the vinegar. Okay, so pull out my hammerheads. So as you can see, the rust is coming off. Up close, you can see where it's been tempered on the ends, and the logos are still good. They're still clean. So I'm just going to put this in that water, and then I'll clean it up in a minute after the vinegar's neutralized. I'll clean all the rust off of it, probably just with a Scotch-Brite pad is probably what I'll do. So here's the other one before I put it in the water. So I'll just let them sit in there for a second. I'm just going to move my vinegar solution just out of the way. Okay, now I'll grab a Scotch pad. I'm just going to go through, and it's just cleaning up the rust and the surface a little bit. You can see here, it's really starting to finish out nicely. There's rust inside the head as well, so I'll just take a pipe cleaner. You can get pipe cleaners like this in a variety of sizes from Harbor Freight for really, really cheap. I've had a set for years and years, and they are fantastic for this kind of stuff. Because I can just put this pipe cleaner inside here, just run it through, no more rust. I don't have to try to bend that Scotch-Brite to get it to fit in there. But I'm going to use the Scotch-Brite wet. And one thing I'm really going to be careful of when I'm done is I got to dry these really well, and then either oil them, paint a clear coat over, or clear coat them, or put a wax on it. Otherwise, these will flash rust. And that's part of the reason why I put a little bit of baking soda in the water, is to help neutralize the vinegar to help prevent the flash rusting. So just put that one over there. Do the same thing to the other one, and then I'm going to start assembling them. Alright, each one of these heads has been cleaned up. I left a little bit of patina on there just to show its age, but I've got paste wax on them. So now I'm just going to go through and I'm going to put them back on the handles. So I'll probably start with the Vaccaro. This is just going to slide right on. I mean, you can just press it right on. And then I'm going to take a fairly large wedge. I'm going to put it like that. Oops, sorry. I'm going to put it like that in there. And now I'm just going to take another hammer. And I'm just going to whack this wedge right in to this head here. I might have to put it on the ground, I don't know. Nope. Well, you know what, I'm going to. So I'm going to put this down here on the ground so you can see it. Put that just like that on there. There. And that Vaccaro is done. I could probably go back up with a file and trim that off, but no big deal there. But that hammer is finished. So now, the next one is going to be to put the plumb on. And it's not going to need quite as much. I'm going to have to actually drive this on. And what I'm going to do is hit this part of the handle on the ground. That's a nice tight fit. But I still need to put a wedge in. I'm going to put a small one in. And I always save my wedges from old hammers. So I'm going to put it in just like the other one. Just get started. Just tap it. Oh, don't do that. Don't bend that wedge. Ooh. I just busted the wedge off. I sure did. Okay, no big deal. Then I'll just take a punch and fill that part in. Actually, I'm not even going to do that. Doesn't even need it. But there is that hammer. So now, there's another one I restored. We'll just get that out of the way for now, though. So now, both of my hammers are complete and ready to go. Still have a nice patina or age look to them, but they've been cleaned up. The handles have been either rehandled or cleaned up and repaired, and they are ready for more service. So hope you enjoyed that. I hope you found this useful, because everybody's got hammers, and they're really easy to fix. And then you've got another 20, 30, 50 years of life left in them. So again, hope you enjoyed it. If you got any comments, feel free to leave a comment, and we'll see you next time. And remember to like and subscribe. Alright, see you on the next video.